feeds Pelosi. Off the wall to Harris. Harris has got Pelosi. Harris to Pelosi. Shot. He scores! Chris Pelosi!
And Poitras trying to drive in on that right wing side. Poitras in. Scores! Matt Poitras in overtime.
Billis took it right off his stick. Sends one through. They score! First career goal for the Bruins draft pick, Dom.Hockey.
To the blue line, Cowan has it, looking for the return feed. Cowan lets it go back to the point. Shot! Edward!
Those were without all of their World Junior guys for that against Simon Fraser. BC played him Sunday. Good pass ahead. There's Yelvik. He scores! Didn't need an exhibition.
Will come up with it. Ross Schwab flips it out to center. Now McKinney gives chase with Harrison. Harrison to the backhand. Score! A deft touch.
Watch out. Nelson steals. Walks in. Scores! 6-2. Jackson Nelson has the hat trick.
In a Crosby line. Goal wins that back. Now he's going to waltz it.
Welcome in, everyone, for another episode of the Dom.Hockey podcast here on 6342 Productions, presented by our good friends over at Ice Shaker. Check them out, iceshaker.com. Kevin's already yelling at me that I better have the videos like he asked me for. Yes, we have some visuals, but definitely for better visuals of these amazing Ice Shaker bottles, go to iceshaker.com. Dom, how are you? How's your Monday?
Rainy day, fog all day. I just don't know what to make of this weather. Sort of kind of makes you feel blue, you know. There's no hockey at all tonight. We're it.
Hey, I'm happy to be it. We got a lot to go over. So tonight is the Prospects show. I hope we get a lot of questions in the chat. But as we mentioned, we got some visuals, stuff that you want to go over. Before we do, because some of that's Providence-based, we do tend to do Providence towards the end unless there's a major reason to start there. What do you say we run through the non-pros first?
Yeah, there really isn't a whole lot to go through because everybody's semester is over now. I guess we can start with Don Sluch-Mellis and UMass. Lost to BU on Wednesday night. No points for Sluch-Mellis. Played a game high, I think, 24 minutes time on ice. Didn't have a shot on goal. Was a -1. Disappointing 5 for 14 on the dot. The good news with Sluch-Mellis is through 17 games, he has 3 goals, 12 assists, 15 points. So just shy of a point per game. Second best on the team with a +5. Averaging 20 minutes a night. Second amongst forwards for UMass. So all in all, about what you'd expect from Sluch-Mellis.
Yeah, and he's definitely someone that we've had plenty of conversation about, especially you and I, both on and off the air. Someone that, excited to see where this, continues to grow for him, simply because he, when someone's on track and they have a ceiling the way that Sluch-Mellis does, you really, you got to remain patient. Yeah. I'm crazy impatient myself, but this is what year is he in college now?
Second year. Yeah.
So it's one of those things with this projection. He is a solid prospect and makes you excited to sit there and go, okay, what could the future look like? Well, before we worry about the future, let's see how he ends the season. It's patience, but enjoy the ride while you can, because he's doing great things over at UMass, and if this is all we ever see from him, not everybody makes it pro, then enjoy it because he's at least doing great things over at UMass.
Yeah. He's. I think his two-way game is where he excels. Where we're going to see Lachmelis at his best, I think, is in May at the World Championships. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be on the Latvian team, and he's going to do what he's done, what he did a year ago, and what he's done in the World Juniors, and be one of the best, if not the best, player for his country come that time. So he'll definitely be one of the top 3 players for Latvia come May. I no doubt in my mind he's making the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of international experience, and he's played well when he's been there at every level. And, I love to see it. You love to see that kind of play from a guy with that kind of international competition experience, because that tends to mean he can translate it to a professional setting. So
exactly.
We'll see. So
he's got over 70 games, Chris, internationally, which is a lot of hockey. And he's still 20, 21 years of age. So I think he's got a bright future ahead.
I'm looking forward to enjoying it as it happens. We got to see it play out, but he looks like he could have a very good ceiling, especially for a Bruins team that everybody talks about the lack of depth that they've had at center for quite some time. He's coming.
Yeah, I mean, you could be looking at a future a few years down the road with Letourneau, Poitras, Lachmelis, and say Beecher down the middle. I wouldn't mind that at all if they all reach their potential, right?
I wouldn't mind that, set of 4 down the middle. It also, again, depending on where their mindset is internally, this team has some holes to fill. And you've got Zaka under contract, Lindholm under contract, Coyle under contract, or Beecher under contract as well. You could, depending on what's out there, look at moving a guy like Poitras to bring in a better top 6 piece now, and then have a guy like Lachmelis. But again, that's not something we're going to be privy to because we're not in those GM offices. We don't know what's out there.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to get into hypothetical trade situations.
No, I'm just saying the scenario exists where you could look at moving Poitras because you have more centers in the
or you could look to move him to the wing.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of guys who move over to the wing, we've got 3 guys, 2 of which play the wing at our next college, BC. Yelvik, Gasso, and Letourneau.
It's so friggin' night and day with Oscar Yelvik. So they played last Monday. They don't play again until January 10th, I believe it is.
That sounds right. I don't have
their schedule in front of me.
That sounds right, though.
They won 3-2. Yelvik set up the opening goal. Gasso was playing center. And I forget who was playing right wing, but the trio make for a very good line. But, we've talked about it a couple of times now on this show. The difference in Oscar Yelvik between center and wing is night and day. They tried him out for half a dozen games or so in the middle. He got hurt, missed a couple of days, came back, and went back to the wing. And ever since they moved him back, he's producing almost at the clip he was a season ago.
Which is just over a point per game.
Yeah, right now he's got 9 points in 14 games. The first half dozen games when he was in the middle was not very good. Terrible on faceoffs. Leave him on the left wing. That's where the kid excels. And Gasol, like you said, Chris, can play the wing, but I'm beginning to really like him in the middle a lot more. He's getting better on faceoffs, 8 for 16. The kid averages 20 minutes a night or close to it. So he's getting a lot of ice time. He's up to 8 goals, 3 assists, 11 points in 16 games. He's averaging half a goal a game. And where he really started to take off is when he went to the middle and Yelwick went to the wing.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about the two? Right.
That's a combo that I wouldn't mind keeping together. They're both lefties. They're both 21, I think. So, you can keep these guys together a long time.
Yeah.
They're both 2021 draft picks, which is one of the quote unquote forgotten drafts because of all the COVID crap.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why a guy like Gasol drops to the 7th round. Like we've seen countless players who have dropped in the draft. A lot of people are going to look at Andre Gasol and go, "Oh, he was a 7th rounder. We're not expecting anything from him anyway." Well, there's plenty of guys who went that late, so don't discount him just because he was a 7th round pick.
And he's really worked on his game. I mean, unless you watch him regularly, you wouldn't know the steps that he has taken. I really like how his skating has come along. I thought that was an issue early on, but he's put in the work. But the thing I like most is what you mentioned, that you can put these two guys together. They've had a season together. They're having another one. Who knows if they'll both be back at BC next year. Will be a 3rd year together. And you can play these guys together in Providence.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that does kind of circle back to a little bit of a conversation we had last week about the size of the roster in Providence as far as getting guys the proper development time. That is a conversation that I think you and I will continue to have probably the rest of this year, because as much as you want guys, like Max Jones in that lineup, do we really want to see him in the lineup versus, because next year he's under contract too. Would you rather Max Jones in the lineup or these two guys together? I'd rather these two guys together.
Yeah.
But, we'll have to continue to keep going through that. So.
And finally with BC is Dean Letourneau.
Yes, the one everybody always asks about.
Yeah. What's sad though, Chris, is there's 1 or 2 people already calling him a bust because he has 2 points.
That is straight up ignorance, honestly.
Yeah.
Ignorance to not knowing how player development works at all and not caring how it works at all.
Exactly. And now I told everybody what a Bruin scout told me last week about Letourneau. Just to paraphrase him and quickly, if I may, basically, it would have been good for him to go to the USHL for a year and maybe dominate. But the experience he's gaining and he's learning at BC can't be underestimated. Okay, he played less than 9 minutes on Monday, their last game. I think it was 8.5 minutes. It was under 9. I remember that. But that's what they're doing. They're bringing him along slowly. Next year is the year for Dean Letourneau.
Absolutely. And that's something that you and I basically talked about starting the day after they drafted him. once we went live on our show. One thing that, piggybacking off of what you said, we had talked a little bit about it last week. Michael asks this question: was just thinking of Bergeron, Marchand, Chara, Krug, etc. If you could rate Bruins prospects looking at their character, guys who are just work to win, who are the top 5? Now, we can come back to the top 5 part of the question, but I would definitely say when it comes to character, Dean Letourneau is definitely up there, because it takes a lot to go from dominating one level to playing less than 8 minutes or less than 9 minutes a night at a completely different level while making a 2-step jump. But he's doing it. He's doing it in stride. He's anxious to learn. And there's a reason why this is a good thing. If he was pouting and acting like a 5-year-old, then absolutely would be a waste of a year.
Let me give you my 5, and we'll do 5 from Providence when we get to Providence.
Okay, so you want to separate it, do 2 sets of top 5.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
I'll give you 2 sets. So the non-pros and those in Providence, and we'll do Providence when we get to it. I'm sure you'll remind me to provide that list, Chris. So in terms of character and work ethic, my top 5, and I'm not going to count Jonathan Murenberg in this group because he has yet to play yet this season. So number 1, Beckett Hendrickson. Number 2, Chris Pelosi. Number 3, Loke Johansson. Number 4, Christian Kostadinsky. And number 5, Oscar Yelvik.
Okay.
Those are my top 5.
There's one on the list that I'm anxious to know where you would put him. Where would Ty Gallagher rank for you? The reason why I'm asking is because what's that?
Not in the top 5. I just think when I think work ethic, the 5 I mentioned, they go balls out all the time, constantly. Motors that don't quit. And let's just say when they're coming, you better get out of their way.
Yeah, and I can say he's a fucking train.
Yeah. So those would be my 5 right now. Obviously, it's going to change as time goes on. Like Letourneau, once he realizes how to use his body and take over games, he'll be up there. Elliot Grongwald remains to be seen. But those are my 5.
Okay. No, that's fair. I mean, you could have picked any of them as your top 5, and for the most part, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, you really can't argue with them. Because if you're factoring in character as much as you are work ethic and the motor, they all have, I'd say 2 of the 3, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I ask about Ty Gallagher because of where he was last year. We've been talking about him now going on 3 years, and just to see the roller coaster for him, that takes character to get through that. Dean Letourneau showing character now to get through what we just talked about. So Loke Johansson, though, of course, he's been playing really well himself, and they all have reasons to mention them. So
yeah.
Jason says, if nothing else, hopefully Letourneau can add strength to his frame this year. He's a pretty burly dude.
Yeah, I think with him, he's got a little bit of filling out to do, but it's learning to use that size to his advantage.
Yeah, which isn't going to happen overnight, going 2 steps up from, Anyway, do we want to move on to North Dakota?
Yeah, let's move on to North Dakota. So 2 games against St. Cloud State. Blankton Friday night, 2-0. Quiet night for Jake Schmaltz, uncharacteristically 8 for 23 on the dot for him on this night. Did play almost 20 minutes, but he was on the ice a lot, killing penalties. So I think North Dakota had 5 penalties to kill. He gets a lot of PK time. Then on Saturday, it took overtime, but North Dakota won again 4-3, and Schmaltz had the game winner in overtime. Corralled the puck in the slot, wired home a wrister from, 20 feet out, beat the goaltender clean for his 4th of the season, I believe, 3rd of the season. Just to show you how different a night it was for him. 8 for 23 on Friday night, then 14 for 25 on Saturday night. Friday night he had 4 shots on net. Saturday night he had 1, and it was the game winner. So some up and down for Schmaltz on the weekend. We've talked a lot about, I don't know what the next step is for him. I still don't see the Bruins offering him a contract.
Do you want me to pull up the video that you sent of that overtime winner?
Yeah, if you got it queued up.
I do, actually. Let me get this back here. Oop. That's not working right. Give me 1 second here. Let me try resharing the screen. There we go. I don't think we'll have audio for it, but... And, of course, not all the greatest quality, but...
That was a good shot. That was a really good shot. And he found himself wide open in front like that. I don't know how, but...
yeah, I'm going to try and back it up. Yeah, right in here, he goes to the net, which is what you love to see.
Yep.
And wide open, has time, clear shot. Nothing to complain about here with this shot.
No, beats him clean.
Yep, absolutely. All right. All right, and up next, any other thoughts on Schmaltz? I agree. No. I don't think he's going to end up with a contract when the season's over.
Not with Boston, anyway. I just don't see it.
PTO. I think that screams AHL PTO.
Yeah. Or he could get an AHL contract from somebody.
That's true. That's true. Let's see. You mentioned him in your top 5, Beckett Hendrickson.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Friday, Saturday, if you want to watch hockey, go back and watch these two powerhouses, Minnesota versus Michigan State, back-to-back nights, exciting hockey. Here's a stupid thing about the NCAA. Okay, the game officially ends in a tie. That's the official 3-3. But then they do a shootout and it doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't get the point of that.
I don't get the point of doing that other than getting players ready for the pros. I don't know. I've never understood it. So Michigan State won the shootout, although the game is officially a tie. Minnesota fell to 15-2-2. Michigan went to 12-2-1. We know these are 2 powerhouse teams in the Big Ten. Hendrickson finished a -1, had 2 shots on goal, 14 minutes time on ice. Being his usual rambunctious self. I mean, the motor just doesn't quit on the guy. And as I said last week, when he gets the opportunity to move up and play on one of the top 2 lines, he has shown that he can produce at this level. It's a deep team. He's not getting on the top in the top on the top two lines this year unless there's an injury. Saturday, Michigan won 5-3. Again, Hendrickson, 2 shots on goal, 14-20 time on ice, was an even plus minus. Minnesota played shorthanded, 2 forwards. They played the game with 10 forwards. Hendrickson was still locked in on the third line. They just had an extra. They ran their 3 lines completely. They had an extra guy that they could throw out and give a guys a break here and there.
Not that it is completely relevant to Hendrickson specifically, but what caused them to have to ice a roster with 2 fewer forwards than normal?
I think they had a couple of injuries.
Okay. That's fine. Gary on YouTube says, I think Beckett is a high motor guy, did unreal work in the USHL.
Yep, exactly.
And he's freshman year, so still plenty of room to grow. I'm not even going to worry about the 14 minutes of ice time or anything like that right now. I mean, the dude's a freshman. He's getting 14 minutes. That's a good thing.
Well, yeah, that's above his average, obviously, because they were short 2 forwards. So
yeah, but 2 minutes above average on a night where you're short 2 forwards is on par, if you will.
Yeah.
Averaging 12-ish and some change on most nights. That's still really solid for a freshman centerman.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll worry about the point production next year. It's great that he's got 4 points in 20 games right now, but for now, play is solid. That's what matters.
Yep.
Let's see. You also mentioned Loke Johansson, but before we get to him, I was talking to you about Ty Gallagher.
Yeah.
Someone that we've talked a lot about over years, really, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. They did back-to-back games this weekend.
Yeah, against Denver University, and you want to talk about 2 fantastic hockey games. Here's another 2. Like, honestly, people, if you get a chance to go back and watch them because they were fantastic hockey games. So Friday night, Denver got up to a 3-0 lead. First 2 goals were shorthanded. So Colorado College down 3-0, mounted a comeback and scored the next 5 goals before Denver would get one late in the game to make it a 5-4 final. Gallagher, no points in this one. 22 minutes of ice time, played in every situation. It's not like the offensive. He was creating offensive opportunities for his teammates. They just didn't finish. But this is what this guy is all about. He can create offense. He did it at the USHL level. He did it at the NCAA level, with the exception of last year, because I don't know what Jay Pandolfo was thinking there as his coach.
That's going to baffle, I think, both of us for quite some time. I mean, he's back up to 22 minutes a night right now.
Yeah. Saturday, Denver won 2-1. Gallagher scored the only goal. Do you have that clip, Chris?
I do. I just was getting it ready.
Put it up so everybody can see the goal.
Absolutely. There we go.
Takes the puck, walks in, and gets it through that maze of bodies. Straight in.
I was going to say, he's got a nice screen. He recognizes the screen is forming, which is nice to see. But he still brings
waits
it in.
For the other. He waits for the other bodies.
Yep, the patience is phenomenal. But you can see here, he's picked his corner, top left corner.
He's picked it, but the thing is if he misses, he's creating a rebound. That's why he's waiting for his teammates to move in. A
Yep.
lot of guys would have shot that puck already.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to seeing him turn pro.
Yeah, that's what Gallagher is capable of, is creating offense like that. Like he was shooting to score, yeah, but he was also putting it in a place that if he didn't, it would create a rebound. He's got three teammates in front.
I was gonna say, right? Whoop. I hate the cursor sometimes. If I take it in nice and slow here, you can see right here, he's got the 3 guys in front of the net, but they still have someone back at the blue line in case it gets deflected the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So solid play.
I think that speaks for his vision. He knew where he had to put that puck.
Oh yeah, 100%. There we go. So I'm really excited to watch as he continues his development. Again, it'll baffle us till the end of time why he didn't play last year for Pandolfo as much as he is right now. But this is, peak, get ice time, get given a chance, take it, run with it, and keep going with it. So, and proof, sometimes a change of scenery is all someone needs.
Yep.
All right.
You got before we go on to Johansson, have you got the clip of him? Because that'll explain Loke Johansson before I go on and babble about him.
Yeah, give me 1 second to get it started here. And I'll also let you walk us through what we're seeing here. There we go. And I'll let it play out.
That's number 33. That's Johansson. They're coming at him. He's going to protect the blue line. Sorry, look, Johansson's coming in now. He's going to stand up and protect the blue line, and watch what he does. 1, 2.
Takes out 2 guys right there.
Takes out 2 guys.
Wow.
And that's his game. His game is to defend. His game is to be physical, and his game is not to get scored on.
I also want to point out right here the way he's sticking out his stick to cut off a lane.
Yep.
And then uses his stick to lean into to get his shoulder prepared to lean into the hit. And it just, he's able to take out 2. That is solid defenseman, stay-at-home D work right there.
That's his game in a nutshell. Now, I know Johansson himself has spoken about what the Bruins told him that they wanted him to work on. And he said his offense. They got him into Moncton. And that's the one thing he wanted to work on. Now, 29 games, he's got 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. That's okay. But I'm telling you, as an avid watcher of the QMJHL, those are not very good stats for a defenseman in the Q. They're not. But that's not his game.
No, it's funny that you say that, because we hear another defenseman on the Bruins roster right now who gets a lot of shit for not doing things the way fans think he should be, and that he should contribute more because of it, and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's your next Brandon Carlo.
Much more physical Brandon Carlo.
Yes, much more physical Brandon Carlo. He should be what everyone wants Brandon Carlo to be now.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some offense there, great, you take it. But if he gets, in an 82-game NHL season, if he gets you 20 points, you're going to sit there and be thrilled because he's taken away more than 20.
Exactly. Now, is there potential there? There might be. He thinks the game well enough and his game on Friday, against, I'll use the English pronunciation because most people won't know the French, against Acadie Bathurst, 8 shots on net. He had 8 shots on net.
It's not that he ain't trying.
No, he's trying. It's just I think his shot selection could, like, it's hard to beat goaltenders even at that level from the blue line with a slap shot. So he's got to learn to shoot with a purpose instead of shooting to score every time. You've got to put pucks in places where goalies can't control the rebound. There's going to be and that's usually along the ice. If you're shooting from the left, you want it on the goaltender's left pad. If you're shooting from the right, you want it on the goaltender's right pad. He's got to learn how to do that, and then he'll create opportunities for his teammates.
Right.
Unfortunately, he's trying to shoot to score every time.
Now, we got a great question from Michael here, too. He wants us to have you talk through a developmental path for Johansson that gets him to the NHL. Now, in simple terms, I would say just keep doing what he's doing because he is able to shut down opposing defenses or opposing offensive players already. He'll continue to get better at it. I think some of them sitting there and telling him, hey, we want you to work on your offense is because I don't want to say he's NHL ready right now as a defender, but that game will continue to develop for any 19-year-old kid.
Just turned 19.
Right. So if he can
weekend.
Was it this weekend?
Yeah, I sent you the thing too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. It was the 14th. So, what, 2 days ago? Yeah. So, if you can get him to focus on his offense because his defense is already so well developed, then he's only going to be a better all-around player. Yeah,
he's still got some things to learn even defensively. He's still adjusting to the smaller ice surface. He still has to work on his pivots, going forward to backwards or backwards to forward skating. He can still be beat to the outside by guys with afterburners. His path, Mike, I think is best served if he could go back to the queue next year. And he can because he's, like I said, just turned 19 a couple of days ago. So he's got another year of junior eligibility. I'm not worried about his contract because it will slide whether he goes back to the queue or to the AHL next year. I don't think he's ready, and I don't think he would be ready to go to the AHL next season. I think he's better served another year in the queue and then a couple of years. Don't forget, once he leaves, you still have him under contract for 3 years. Then you can put him in the queue for 2 years and maybe bring him up the last year of his entry-level contract. They hold his rights for 5 years right now under this contract. I think that's the ideal path for him.
Yeah, so he is, 3 to 4 years away from the American Hockey League.
No, not from the American Hockey League.
Oh, you're saying 2 years away from the AHL?
Yeah, this year and next year.
This year, next year, and then he's in the AHL, and which is, that puts him barely at age 21.
Yeah.
Which puts into perspective why when people freak out about other prospects that we'll talk about later, but he's 2 years in the queue, and you ready for him to go to the AHL in theory at age 21. And people think about other prospects who aren't ready to be in the NHL by age 21.
Yeah, I think that's the best path for him. I really do. Now, things could change over the second half of this season, where he makes a strong case that, hey, I'm ready for the AHL next season. And if that happens, I'll let you know. I just don't think, based on what I see today, that that's the ideal situation for him or for the Bruins.
Right. Now, if you want to talk about a developmental path, well, let's transition over. We got one more team over here to get through before we get into Providence. Dubuque. And on that long-term developmental plan, we talked about him before. You mentioned him in your top 5, Christian Konstantinsky.
Yeah. So, well, let's get rid of Cole Spicer right away because he didn't play either game on the weekend.
Okay, well, there you go.
I don't know if that's the issues that he had with him leaving school, or whether it's an injury that has kept him out. I haven't seen anything about it. So Friday night they lost 4-1 to Des Moines. What's his name? Jonathan Morello, who had missed a game with an injury, returned. Both Morello and Kostadinsky finished a -1 in this one. Really not much to say. It was not a good game by either of them. On Saturday, Dubuque won 7-2. Morello had a goal and assist, and it's his first goal in 20 games for Jonathan Morello.
Oof.
And
I mean, it's good that he broke the streak, but woof.
Yeah, because the talent is. Did I send you the clip for that one? I believe I did. Did I not?
I believe you did. I'll go take a quick peek here.
So if we got it, this is what Morello is. A guy who's very good in his own zone, can transition, uses speed, and goes right to the net. And this goal, if Chris has it here, shows all of that.
I'm queued it up. I have it actually going at half speed for you, so you can walk us through what's going on here. It's a very grainy video. Unfortunately, the lower levels don't use HD.
Yeah, so there's Morello getting the puck at his own blue line, taking off, player on his back, gets the shot off and scores. And that's what Jonathan Morello can bring. It's too bad I didn't get it earlier, and probably wouldn't have been able to notice on this video, but it was his play in the defensive zone that broke up Des Moines' opportunity and then went the other way. That's what he's capable of. I've seen it in the OJHL with him. We're just right now not seeing it in the USHL. Hopefully it'll come.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young. He's still, first year for him?
Yeah.
So it's really tough for me to sit here and press the panic button on someone who's in their first year. He was drafted 5th round this past draft. So, for now, not pushing the panic button on him. Michael has a good question, though. Are prospects expected to make an effort to watch the games of the NHL clubs that drafted them?
I don't think so. I don't see how the Bruins could insist that Don Melis or Oscar Yelvik or Andre Gassot or Dean Letourneau watch Bruins games when they're also trying to get an education, along with playing hockey, practicing through the week. There isn't a lot of time for that. I know if last year the Bruins had tried to tell Jackson Edward that he had to watch Bruins games, that Dale Hunter would have told Don Sweeney where he can shove his head.
I'm guessing it's a dark place.
It's a dark place. Yeah, so I would have to say no to that.
Yeah, it to me, even just without having a definitive, I would say it doesn't make much sense to try to force them to do it. One, they're hockey guys. They're gonna want to watch the pros. They're gonna have some interest in other higher hockey leagues. Period. They're just gonna
Yeah.
have it. But to then force it upon them in some capacity, like you said, they're trying to get an education, whether it's Canadian juniors, whether it's at college, they have so much other stuff going on. Most of them probably don't have their team that drafted them as their favorite team anyway. Now, does that mean that Bergeron doesn't become a lifelong Bruin because that's the team that drafted him? No, it just means, I honestly would rather have, my player watch the pros of his favorite team and keep the interest, keep it fun, and not have it be crammed down his throat. That's how people get better. If you force things on people, it becomes a negative. And you want the game of hockey for your draft picks to be a positive all the time.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Providence because lots to go over here.
Oh boy.
3 of 3 on the week. Have now won 6 in a row. They're really adhering to the system. A DiPietro won 2 of the 3. Bussy won the middle game. Matthew Poitras scored 3 goals in 3 games. Is now 6 goals in 6 games. Everybody's talking about him getting a call back up. Georgi Merkulov was very good on the week. Mason Millman. I think the Bruins need to sign this guy right now. I've seen enough. I know him from the Ontario Hockey League from 6 years ago. I think the Bruins need to sign this guy before somebody else does. Millman has played 12 games for the P Bruins, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, a +5 since being called up from Maine. I like how Frederic Brunet's game is coming along, assists in all 3 games. Jackson Edward scored his first goal, his first professional goal. You have that one, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
Actually.
before we put it up, I want to say this about Jackson Edward. So when the London Knights drafted him into the Ontario Hockey League, it was during the COVID period. He was drafted as an offensive defenseman. Unfortunately, when he got to London, they wanted him to concentrate on defense because they had enough guys who could provide offense from the blue line. And last year, they had him as the defensive guy playing to Sam Dickinson, who went in this year's draft. But just to show you where his IQ is at, can you play it a little slower, Chris?
Yeah. Actually, I had it queued up at 3/4 speed, but I can slow it down to half speed for you.
Yeah. Go to half speed.
We got the goal right here. I'm just trying to start it from the beginning here.
So stop it there.
Right.
So there's Edwards just to the left at the top of the right face-off circle. He sees that's Georgi Merkulov going for the puck. Now, if you go forward just a bit, you'll see Edward hesitate. Make sure that Merkulov is clear of the guy going after him. Let her go, Chris. Okay. Once he sees it, right here, Edward takes off and Merkulov gets in the puck. He knows Merkulov can get him the puck. Let her go, Chris. That's his
a nice
IQ.
little snapshot.
Now, the unfortunate part is that shot does not beat an NHL goaltender. It just doesn't. But I want to show you that I do this, or I wanted to show this to show you how
That one.
Edwards thinks the game. Like, he knew that was Merkulov. He knew that once Merkulov was clear that he would get him the puck, and he took off. And he didn't care who was behind him at that point. He knows he's got two teammates behind him.
Yeah. But he knows that he can get the touch there and he can get a shot off.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, what I want to point out, too, though, is he's also aware enough to see the mismatch over here. So even if he misses and this shot produces a rebound, it's going to be on the side of the ice where he has two teammates to one defender. So it's not even just shoot for the goal. It's shoot for the offensive opportunity here.
Yeah.
And that's an offensive-minded play that you don't get often from a defenseman. He gets lucky because it beats it beats the goaltender. I mean, you can see how that just goes right under the glove.
Yeah.
That like you said, that's not beating an NHL caliber goaltender. But what I like about the fact that it went in is it's growing his confidence in his offensive game at a pro level.
Exactly. So congrats to him for scoring his first goal. Have you got the Poitras goal queued up?
I do.
Okay. 6 goals in 6 games is pretty good at any level. Again, this is to show Poitras' IQ. So stop right here. I wish I could point. That's Vinny Lettieri up against the boards. And that's Poitras
straight up.
Yeah, that's Poitras coming in behind.
Right here.
No, the other one. No,
Right here.
Sorry. You were right the first one. So let her go.
I have this one going half speed as well.
No, that's Lettieri. That's Pot. Now stop it right there. Okay. Normally in this situation, when you got 2 defenders going up against Lettieri, Poitras would be over there to provide support for Lettieri. But he sees that Lettieri has the puck, so he starts to move to soft space. Let her go a bit here, Chris.
So real quick before I start it, what you're saying is he would normally fill in back here to offer basically a back pass.
Right, or some kind of support. Right.
But
instead he recognizes it's Lettieri's puck now. It's no longer 50-50 puck, and he moves to soft ice. Okay, let it go a bit here. Lettieri will spin, stop. Now, most players would put themselves in the lane to create a passing lane. Poitras doesn't. Watch what he does. He puts his stick in the lane, not his body, and gives him a pass. Go back to when the puck just hits the stick. So you see, his body is not in the lane. It's his stick that's in the lane to give Lettieri an opportunity, a target. So now Poitras under pressure. He spins. He puts on a puck on the net, looking for a rebound, even though he's got no support from players going to the net. Luckily for him, the puck goes in. Again, that's a goal that doesn't beat an NHL goaltender.
Yeah, that's getting caught by any NHL goaltender's glove right there. Again, though, what I like about these two plays is the fact that they went in, even though they weren't against NHL caliber goaltending, and in reality, that those goals don't happen at the NHL level. one, they're not at the NHL level. And two,
Right.
it's giving them the confidence that what the decisions they are making now at this level are the correct ones.
To me, the goal doesn't mean anything. Neither the Edward goal or the Poitras goal. It's what they did that led up to the goal that tells me they have it up here and that they can think the game enough to be NHL players.
Agreed. I guess the better way to put it is they're thinking at an NHL level, even though the results aren't NHL level results, because they're getting goals that shouldn't be going in, but it's going to continue to allow them to think the way they're thinking, and it won't deter them from playing that way. I guess probably the better way to put it.
But that's what you want to see from these guys is plays like
Absolutely.
that. Even if they don't go in, they're doing the right things. Now, we'll get back to Mike's question in a minute because I want to say this. We all have our binkies, guys that we like, guys that we're all over. Brett Harrison was one for me. I really, really wanted the Bruins to draft him, and they did. But at the same time, you have to recognize when a player isn't going to make it. You know, people that have listened to this show for however long we've been on,
A couple years now, surprisingly enough,
have heard me be very critical of Brett Harrison since in his draft plus 1 year. I told you, Chris, when you go to camp, development camp, watch how disinterested he looks, how he doesn't engage, and that's what we're seeing. When I wanted the Bruins to draft him, I always brought it with the caveat that if he hits his potential, it'll be a swing and a hit for Don Sweeney and the scouting department. Because he's not there, is that on the Bruins or is that on the player? It's on the player. I admit that I wanted him, but it came with my warning and my caveat about the player that he was. He didn't make it, or hasn't made it.
The best part of what you're saying, too, is he has the talents. The shot is already NHL level. There's a reason he went in the third round, because he wasn't going to make it probably to the fourth or fifth round because he wasn't that bad. His skills are there, but he wasn't a first round or a second round worthy pick because of those questionable things.
Well, no, with him it was COVID.
COVID too.
He didn't play his draft year. Had he played his draft year, he probably would have gone higher in the draft.
You think so?
Yeah. Once he got drafted, he started. But the point I want to continue to make is that I can take all of Fabian Lysel's goals or all of Matthew Poitras' goals or all of Georgi Merkulov's goals or good highlights, put them on Twitter and say, this is why the guy deserves a call up to Boston and blah, 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 and make it seem like it's a Bruins problem, not a player's problem. Very rarely will anybody put up a clip and say, this is why Fabian Lysell hasn't been called up to the NHL yet. Or this is why Matthew Poitras is still in Providence. Or this is why Georgi Merkulov was sent back down because he needs to continue to work on this. Nobody puts those clips on.
We'll
And
start
nobody ever will, because that doesn't get you followers.
You know what
I
gets
don't
us
care.
followers is the truth. So we'll put those up.
Okay. Now, I will say this. I was very adamant at the start of the year that Fabian Lysell did not belong on the NHL roster. A few weeks in, Chris, you're my witness. We can go back and find it. I said I would give him a chance, only because it's better for him to watch David Pastrnak and what David Pastrnak does, as opposed to trying to learn it from Patrick Brown down in Providence.
Yeah, no,
Because
the tune, 100%. I will give you that 100%.
yeah, Fabian Lysell is the closest thing we have to a David Pastrnak in this prospect pool. So who better to learn from than David Pastrnak?
Yeah,
Is
Pastrnak himself.
Fabian Lysell ready for the NHL? No, but he's not learning it, obviously, at the AHL level, or he would have learned it by now. Give him some time. Give him 2 weeks. Give him 3 weeks at the NHL level. Put him with Elias Lindholm, who's a fellow Swede, who can help him along, and Brad Marchand, who can both cover his defensive deficiencies and learn at the same time.
Yeah, and part of what changed the tune was the slow start, and just again at a certain point it becomes, why not? What he's doing right now isn't working to learn it. So I'll give you 100% credit on that one, Dom. We both came into the season thinking he wasn't ready. He proved not to be ready. The whole team proved not to be ready for the start of the season. So it became, see what you can try to spark in him. So
how let me ask you this, Chris. How much longer can we try the experiment of Justin Brazeau on the second line? 2 goals since November 3rd.
I'm already done with the experiment. He's a third liner. Done.
Okay. So now do you give it to Oliver Wahlstrom?
I think that's why they brought him in. I think they are trying to see if he will click, because he's older, stronger, bigger, probably more NHL ready than Fabian Lysell. And I think the move for Wahlstrom was almost a double-edged sword, because if Wahlstrom's not ready, they can move on from him. They don't have to keep him around.
No. But then
And he didn't cost anything.
Then is it Fabian Lysell's turn?
I think so. I think this was a message to Lysell. Remember last year when Ryan Mougenel took some shots at Lysell later in the year? I think this was a way to reinforce that to him and say, listen, just because you have the talent doesn't mean you have the work ethic, the attitude. And we've got to do the top 5 that we did earlier that Michael had asked about for Providence. We'll come back to that. But I'm not sure Fabian Lysell is in my top 5. Because if he had that work ethic, the character, he would have been given his NHL shot already.
Right.
So I think the Wahlstrom pickup accomplished 2 things. Shakes up the NHL lineup a little bit, tries someone new in that spot, sends the message to Fabian Lysell, and it's a way of doing it without subtracting from what you already have. The guy was free. He was on fucking waivers. You don't have to send a draft pick anywhere. Try it. If it doesn't work out, you are a couple, 5 digits away from where you were in cap space over a couple of days, couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were strapped up against the cap anyway. So.
Okay. So how much longer do you give Morgan Geekie? How long does that experiment on the first line last?
How much longer does it last? I think as soon as they can get someone in on the left side. The problem is you don't have anybody on the left side.
I think Georgia Merkulov.
Yeah, I think where that comes from is the logjam between Geeky, Frederick, Merkulov. You can only host 2 of the 3 on your roster. And right now you have Geeky and Frederick. So I think what they'll do is they'll make some sort of a roster move and then call up Frederick, or not Frederick, Merkulov. I really do think there's some smoke to the Trent Frederick trade rumors. It's just
Remains. It's been 3 months since they started contract negotiations.
that's what I mean. Why isn't there a deal in place? And if Trent Frederick isn't, it's Jake DeBrusk all over again. It's just this one's not getting out. We're not hearing an agent say or a player say it takes 2 sides to negotiate. It's still true. Why isn't this deal done? I'd be willing to bet that Sweeney put an offer forward and they looked at it and they said, no. Why would we do this deal? And then Trent Frederick's play keeps going the way that it's going, and Sweeney just kind of keeps pointing to that, going, when do I start taking money off the table?
Yeah.
So,
okay, let's do those quick 5 Providence guys. What was the criteria again? Character, work ethic.
Pull it back up here, right here. Looking at character and guys who just work and work to win.
Okay. Jackson Edward, Riley Duran, Trevor Kuntar,
And you get
now
one
we're
more.
Matthew Poitras.
So
We're short one.
So I've got on my list in no particular order. These are the top 5. I don't know what order I'd put them in, but Poitras up there in the top 5 for me. Kuntar would be up there in the top 5 for me. Jackson Edward, Riley Duran. I think that kid's got a motor and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go off the page, and I'm going to say Michael DiPietro.
Yeah, hard to argue that one. Hard to argue.
I mean, you've got other guys like Vinny Lettieri wouldn't be a terrible pick. Ryan Mast might not be a terrible pick, but like when you talk about character, one of the underappreciated things about DiPietro is what the COVID season did to his career.
Mm-hmm.
He got so far set back because he wasn't playing games thanks to the Vancouver Canucks' stupid decisions on how to manage them.
Yep.
And so he's really had to show patience in himself, in the system, in working with what's his name, the goalie coach down there,
Mike Dunham.
Mike Dunham. Thank you. I wanted to say Mike McDunham, and I was like, that's not right. But and working with those coaches to now over the last 2 years, he's been one of the best goaltenders in the American Hockey League overall. He's had a couple stinkers in there. Every goalie does. But overall, he's been one of the best goaltenders in the A.
Yeah. Now, I want to also say this about Providence. So, anybody who wants to go to benchrates.com. This is something this was something that was invented by a former hockey player. Created an algorithm that basically computes a player's impact to the overall success of the team. and it does it in a dollar value, so you can compare it to their cap hit. So the player with the greatest impact in Providence right now is Michael DiPietro. So I know fans don't like these new things, but I swear by them, because I find that everything that they're computing meets the eye test, meets the analytics test, meets everything. And it's a new thing out there. It's been around for 2 years, and people haven't latched onto it or find it hard to understand. So Michael DiPietro is number one. Number two is Matthew Poitras. Easy to say, his 6-game goal scoring streak also coincides with their 6-game winning streak. Following him is Vinny Lettieri and then Georgi Merkulov. Have you got it up, Chris?
I have it pulled up off the chart that you posted on your site. So for some reason, it's not pulling up for me on their website, but we'll pull it up for them based off of your site, Dom.Hockey. You have this chart included in your Monday recap, a lot of what we just went over. So if you don't want to read everything we just spewed in audio, just go there, check out the chart at the very bottom, the bench rates chart here. And so I agree with you. A lot of people haven't caught on to this because I think they don't understand it. So what this means, in simple terms, correct me if I'm wrong, let's take a player like Matthew Poitras up here, where the bench rates dollar amount is $706,932.
Yeah.
Matthew Poitras is playing to the level of an NHL player earning $706,932 against the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So you've got DiPietro, you've got Matthew Poitras, who are not that far off from league minimum. In fact, I think DiPietro is actually over veteran league minimum. Not by much, because isn't it like $750K?
775. I'll tell you in a second what DiPietro's at.
775.
He's at league min.
Okay. So he's actually playing above his current contract level.
Right. And compared to Brandon Bussey, who everybody wanted to write in as the backup goaltender this year, who's playing at 1/4 of that level, at $214,000.
Yeah, that's the guy everybody wanted to have backup Jeremy Swayman. He's the one who was anointed as being ready. Guess we know why they didn't go with him now.
Yeah, so interesting there. I suggest people go check it out. Work their way around the site. They do it for every professional league in the world. And once you get to learn it, you'll find that it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out a couple years ago, and I was looking at it kind of confused and whatnot, but it's gotten better and it's way less confusing, and obviously knowing how it works a couple years in, like you said, it's a lot easier now. So Michael has a question here. Did we get to Mike's good music question though? Other than Edward, any other Providence Bruins defensemen have a decent looking, like a real NHL future? Look like they have a decent look at a real NHL future.
Frederic Brunet.
He would have been the one I go to.
Yeah. Right now, I think it's the two of them. Um, we're talking just Providence, right? Yeah.
Yeah, his
The Bruins.
was Providence, but I
Yeah.
mean, I like what we've seen from, again, Johansson, Gallagher. These guys could be in the Providence soon.
Jonathan Mirenberg.
I was gonna say Murenberg. I want them to get him over here.
Yeah. But if you're talking to Providence guys, the two guys with the best chance are Frederick Brunet and Jackson Edward. And I tell you, Adam McQuaid thinks the world of Jackson Edward.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch them continue to work together. Michael asks, how important is it for the Providence Bruins to make the playoffs? I think that's a very situational question.
No, I think it is important. It's important for some of these guys to gain playoff experience, like the Kuntars, the Durans, Edwards, the Brunets, maybe even Ryan Mast. Hopefully, they have Mason Millman under contract. Drew Bavero, I've been a little disappointed in him this season. I'm not worried about the guys who have experience like Tufty or Jones or Tyler Pitlick's. Those guys. If Poitras still on the team, Merkulov's still on the team, Lysel's still on the team, there's nothing more important than experience. And at least they would get the experience.
Yeah. Let's see here. I just wanted to check and see, playing around a little bit with the bench rates. I wanted to see who on the Bruins has the best differential as far as their cost, but there's no way to do it just by the whole team. But to put it in perspective, because I did have someone mention during the game over the weekend that they should trade Pastrnak. To put it in perspective, his cap hit 11.25 against the cap, his playing to a value of 12.9, and this is a down year for him. So
yeah,
very, very good way of looking at it from a totally different perspective. And this doesn't take into account leadership abilities or locker room attributes or off ice things that they do to bring additional value. This is straight up just how are they playing.
Yeah, so it's I don't use it much for the NHL.
No, I totally get where you're coming from with it. I just wanted to put that in perspective for some people with someone that they're a little bit more familiar with.
Yeah, I use it a lot for the Providence guys, and like when they make a call up, like for instance, Mark McLaughlin playing at a $549,000 value. So his value was almost $200,000 more than Fabian Lysell.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just not the name or the shiny new toy. This gives you another thing to look at and say, why would they call McLaughlin up over Lysell? Well, one, Lysell's not a fourth liner, and two, McLaughlin is contributing more to the team's success than Lysell is. It isn't always just about points.
Right. Oh, and because you talked to him a little bit about Brett Harrison, to put it in perspective, Brett Harrison is playing at a value of $88,992. So our good friend Craig Eagles is jumping in the comments here, asking about our thoughts on Matty Poitras here. Hello to you, Craig. Thanks for joining the show.
Hi, Craig.
Comments. And actually, I have that other Poitras goal that you sent me, the 6th one in 6 games from our friends over at Flow Hockey here. But Mike has a really interesting question about Poitras. Who's his roommate when he gets called up?
He doesn't have a roommate. He had his own apartment in Boston. And when they're on the road, they all get their own hotel rooms. That's in the collective bargaining agreement.
Each player gets their own room.
Yeah.
I wish I had traveled that way.
Yeah.
Hell, I wish I traveled.
I'm trying to think of which goal you're
The
talking
6-1
about.
against Harvard. I'll pull this up here. This one here. I'll get comment out of the way here. This is the one that broke the tie against Harvard.
Oh,
Hartford.
yeah, the one-timer.
The one-timer, yep.
Again, play it over again, Chris.
Absolutely. I'm going to slow it down again.
Watch how he positions himself. It's not, he doesn't get his body into the open lane. He gets his stick there. And that he creates a target. And he's got a guy on his back. Look, almost gets knocked over, stays on his feet, stick in the lane, not the body, and rips it home.
Oh, yeah. And smooth one-timer. Right here, he's getting looked at for the pass. Right here.
Mm-hmm.
And he just sneaks in. The pass was perfect. Beats him.
Yeah, he's playing really well. And Poitras always had a good shot. It's unfortunately through juniors, he played with shooters. So he became the setup guy more than the pull the trigger guy because he played with a couple of guys that could rip the puck. Vladdy Nemestikov's brother, for one, and Braden Bowman, the other. Both could absolutely wire the puck. So Poitras didn't have to. He had to be the setup guy. But he can shoot that puck.
So Michael puts a little comparison out there, and I know how much you hate player comparisons. He says, such a smart player, very Krejci-like. There's only one Krejci. But I get where Michael's going with it in the intelligence factor. Like you said, he has an underrated shot because most people are expecting him to make the pass.
I hate player comparisons, but I made one with Matthew Poitras, and that I said he's more a Mark Savard than he is a David Krejci.
Still someone that I'd be very okay with getting compared to if I'm Matthew Poitras. So we got a couple minutes left here. So any last minute questions, things that we haven't gotten to, definitely throw them in the chat. Dom, I got nothing else other than just, it's fun to keep watching them. It sucks that the colleges are going on their break, but there's some games to go back and watch, as we talked about.
I think next week is just Providence. None of the prospects are playing next week at all. But
if you get overwhelmed with a lot of hockey to watch, then it's also a good way to check out the AHL.
I think Craig will correct me, but I think the Q gets back into action on the 28th
of January.
I'm almost positive, but of December.
Oh, December. Okay.
Yeah. Craig will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we'll have some local hits. And play that clip for Craig. I don't know if he saw it earlier.
I will pull that back up again here because we got
Craig was probably at this game.
The hit for Loke?
Yeah.
I will get that pulled right back up here. And he says, Poitras processes the game so well, spots the open man all of the time. Michael asks, any prospects in the World Juniors? Craig confirming that it is the 28th that the Q gets back. So
that's what I thought.
Any prospects in the World Juniors?
Chris Pelosi. That's it, as far as I know.
All right. I was letting you answer the question while I pulled up the clip for Craig. It's 3/4 speed here. This is the hit at the blue line that you were talking about, how he takes out the two forwards, frees up the puck. So
I'm sure Craig was at that game and was probably thinking of us when he saw that hit.
I'm sure he probably was. So definitely want to shout out, especially for watching the Providence Bruins. Check out flowhockey.com, F-L-O, no W, F-L-O, flowhockey.com. Sign up. It's a great website to catch a bunch of different leagues, the AHL being a primary one on there as well. And you can watch all the games on there. So what we're looking at as far as what we want to see when it comes to NHL games, that package exists for all the other levels. Craig absolutely was there, and he says that he's playing incredibly well. So shout out to our friends over at Flow Hockey for allowing us the opportunity to play those clips as well. So yes, Merry Christmas to you, Craig, and all, and happy holidays to those who celebrate the other holidays around this time. There are quite a few of them. So, Dom, anything else to wrap up here?
No, I think we got we got through it all pretty easily tonight. I'm on a signed Mason Millman kick before somebody else does. That's the one thing I'm on right now. I think they absolutely have to get him under contract.
Would he qualify for a 2-year or a 3-year ELC? Or would it be an ELC? I don't even know how old he is.
It'd be a 1 year.
It'd be a 1 year. Okay. I was just pulling up to see what his age is. He's 23. 4th round pick in 2019 from the Flyers. So he wouldn't even be on an ELC if he played in the American Hockey League for them, right?
Did he ever sign a contract? I don't think so.
He's been in Lehigh. He played 3 years in Lehigh Valley. So let me go take a look.
Or maybe he did. So it wouldn't even be an entry-level contract. It would be a league minimum.
Let me see if I can find. Yep, he had a contract. It looks like he went for a total of 4 years. 3-year, $2.545 million contract, including bonuses and guarantees. 3 years.
So I'd sign him. He's been that good since he's been up in Providence.
Sounds good to me. So anyway, with no final thoughts, I want to thank, again, Flow Hockey. Check them out, flowhockey.com. Ice Shaker for bringing the show to you guys tonight as well. IceShaker.com. Get the Bruins one. Get whatever favorite team you have. Customize one. Again, this thing, I don't know how well you can hear it. Still shaking up the little ice that I put in beforehand. Honestly, Dom, you know how you prepare for a drink to have the ice melt in it? So you put a little drink in it knowing it's going to get watered down? I have to reverse think with this because the ice just doesn't melt by the time I'm done drinking it. A couple other comments here from Craig. If I was the Bruins, I would be looking at Dylan McKinnon, Loke's D partner. He's a Preds draft pick and currently unsigned.
You would get no argument from me, Craig. None whatsoever.
I'll have to take a look and see what I can find on the kid. But, I mean, this team does need help defensively and just prospect-wise in general. I will always root for them to take a shot and a flyer on someone. So, with that, I mean, again, thanks to Ice Shaker. Thanks to Flow Hockey. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, everyone in the comments. My last thought is go be.